You know, you hear the word sustainability all the time in corporate reports, but what does it actually look like on the ground? How does a huge company go from a vague goal to saving real, actual kilowatt hours? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on Coway Malaysia's playbook to see exactly how they built an impressive energy management system pretty much from scratch.
So, we're going to break this down into 4 parts. First, we'll see how they laid the groundwork. Then we'll play data detective and find their biggest energy users. After that, we'll see their plan in action in the results it delivered. And finally, we'll take a look at what's next on their roadmap. Let's dive in.
All right, first things first. You can't build a house on a shaky foundation, right? And you can't build an energy strategy on vague ideas. For Coway, it all started with setting some crystal clear rules and defining exactly who was responsible for what.
And just look at the clarity here. This isn't just some fluffy corporate mission statement. Their policy sets firm commitments, like continuous improvement and following the law. But the really smart part is over on the right, defining their boundaries. They decided to focus only on what they can directly control, like electricity for their equipment, and to not worry about things they can't, like vehicle fuel. That's not a weakness, that's just being incredibly strategic.
And here's how they made sure it all actually gets done. They created a super clear chain of command for energy savings. It starts right at the very top with the managing director, it flows down to the managers who carry out the plan, and it extends to every single employee. The message is simple. Everyone has a role to play here. Now this is what separates a real strategy from a document that just gathers dust on a shelf. It's a living, breathing cycle. They're constantly auditing themselves, checking that they're following the rules, and, this is key, taking action. So if they see a strange spike in energy consumption, they don't just note it down, they investigate it, and they fix it. And all that information loops right back to management, which ensures the whole system is always getting smarter.
Okay, so they've built the machine. Now it's time to feed it some data. With their framework in place, they went on a hunt to find their biggest energy villains. And you guessed it, the clues were all in the numbers.
But just think about it for a second. In a big production facility, energy is being used literally everywhere. So how do you decide where to start? What do you tackle first to get the biggest impact?
Well, the data pointed to 2 main culprits, injection molding and HVAC systems. Get this. Together, these 2 areas alone were responsible for a massive 60% of all the energy they used. Suddenly, a huge, complex problem became laser-focused. These became what they call significant energy uses, which is basically their top priority target. Then they had their aha moment. This graph shows that the more they produce, the more energy they use. Now, that sounds pretty obvious, right? But the insight here is profound. It means the biggest wins won't come from just turning off a few lights. The real game changer is improving energy intensity. In other words, making each individual product with a tiny bit less power. That became the strategic lever they needed to pull. Now we get to the really exciting part, turning all that planning and analysis into real, tangible results. This is where the rubber meets the road.
So how do you make a machine more efficient? You watch it like a hawk. They started tracking all these tiny details, like the exact temperature of a molding machine or the pressure of an air compressor. By keeping these numbers in that perfect sweet spot, they could guarantee every machine was running at peak efficiency, wasting absolutely nothing.
And all that detailed monitoring led to some big practical wins. They swapped out old lights for LEDs. Boom, 25,000 kilowatt hours saved. They hunted down and fixed tiny leaks in their air compressors. There's another 15,000 saved. And just by installing the monitoring system itself, they found another 80,000 kilowatt hours in savings. See how it all adds up?
You add it all up and you get this, 120,000 kilowatt hours saved every single year. That's not a projection. That's a real, concrete result. The system was clearly working.
And here's where you see the discipline really pay off. They didn't just hope for savings. They set a hard target for themselves in 2013. And they came incredibly close, hitting 92% of that goal. This shows they can set a target, track their progress, and pretty much nail it. That's a system you can really trust.
So that brings us to our final section, the road ahead. Because an effective system isn't just about the wins you've already had. It's about embedding efficiency into the company's DNA for the long haul.
And they are not stopping here. Their future plans are even more ambitious. They're looking at installing a huge solar panel system to generate their own clean energy. That's a potential saving of 450,000 kilowatt hours a year. On top of that, upgrading their air conditioners could save another 120,000. They're definitely leveling up.
Just to put that into perspective for you, these 2 projects alone represent a future saving of 570,000 kilowatt hours per year.
That's nearly 5 times the savings from their initial projects combined. That's huge.
And this, right here, this is the endgame. They're weaving energy efficiency into the very fabric of the business. It's not a special project anymore, it's just how they operate. Buying new equipment? You bet it has to be efficient. Designing a new building? Efficiency is part of the blueprint from day one. It's all about making smart energy use the default, not the exception.
So when you boil it all down, their success really comes from 3 key things: a rock-solid framework so everyone knows the rules of the game, a deep respect for data to find the biggest wins, and a relentless focus on getting real results both now and in the future. And that leaves us with a final thought. Coway Malaysia has created a powerful blueprint for turning ambition into action. It really makes you wonder, what kind of impact could be made if every organization had a system this clear? Thanks for tuning in.